Hi everybody, this is my friend Tom. We've known each other for a long time. He's been in the automation industry for a very long time. I know you generated over 25 million for your customers through the years. You started with email marketing, then you moved to NA10. You started teaching people NA10 how to integrate in their business. And now I guess we are shifting to different tools like Claude Code and OpenClaw. Can you tell us a little bit more of your background?
Yeah, of course. Well, good to catch you and have this conversation because, yeah, when we last spoke in January, a lot has changed, right? So, just for context, yeah, the last 8 years, I've been running an agency doing email and SMS automation for e-commerce brands. So, it's not a million miles away from NA10. We were using Zapier in some cases. So, the idea of connecting apps to other apps is it's nothing new for me. And we were building automations. We were building email sequences and triggers and behavior-based segmentation, all this kind of stuff. So, those like platforms like Klaviyo, they were the OG sort of automation tools, right? Klaviyo, there was like Infusionsoft back in the day, which if anyone's watching this who's an internet marketer probably know what that is. But yeah, things change, and when GPT 3.5 was around, that's when I really started shifting. I was using GPT 3, 3.5, and the iterations onwards to the present day, and that's really when I was using it for, well, for all sorts, for like mostly around content creation. I had this side project around. I was a music producer, and so I did a lot of blogging and getting search traffic, and that's primarily what I used GPT for
Yeah.
back in the day. And yeah, the last couple of years I picked up NA10 and started building some automations with it for myself, and sort of exploring different use cases that I could share with people on X, and it really resonated with a lot of people, and that's how I kind of grew my social media and started to try different tools. Getting into like prompt engineering, that was a pretty huge kind of step up from just firing a bunch of stuff into Claude or GPT versus actually creating a structured prompt. And when you build with NA10, like you're kind of forced to create more structure in your prompts. When you're using something like an AI agent, you need a system prompt and a user prompt, and those need to be well structured and well thought out, and it's really the brain of how that node works, and often it's a core component of an automation depending on what you're trying to do. So especially if you're trying to use AI in an automation, the system prompt and the user prompt, that's what's going to make or break it.
I know that since we talked last time, Cloud Code is getting really big. I see a lot of use cases of it as SEO agent, as a lead generation agent. You can build a whole team of this tool with Cloud Code and OpenClaw. And I'm just interested how you use this in your business. Do you have a team of agents and different scenarios?
Sure. Well, I think everybody's is different in how they're using it, and so yes, I am building a team of agents to do things in my company. That's kind of one thing that I'm working on from the SEO angle. From a content perspective, like I'm a content creator, so I do put out a lot of content, and I use Claude Code for that with a custom skill that I've developed and that I continue to develop, which has a lot of stuff going on, but essentially it gives me a framework to work through whenever I have an idea, or if I'm doing a brand sponsorship. It'll take me, whether I'm writing an article, whether I'm doing an X post, a thread, LinkedIn post, whatever it is. And so that's been really valuable for me. But at the end of the day, when it comes to content, I'm not saying this is the case for everything, but when it comes to content, you need a human in the loop. You need somebody who can say that's good and that's not. And my experience as a copywriter, as someone who's been in marketing for 8 years plus, I can do that, right? So Claude Code just speeds up my creative process where I can generate a lot of, let's say, different hooks or different headlines, and I can narrow them down based on my taste. Okay, so that's one thing that AI is still missing at this point. It can give you good stuff, but it can also give you slop. And it's like, how do you get past that? And there's things like humanizers that I've created, and just different parts of the skill that eliminates a lot of the AI language and the bullshit that people can just pick up on. So that's something I use pretty much daily. I also use the image generator models like Nano Banana. I did say that I cancel my GPT subscription, but I've been using the GPT image generation model and it is actually pretty good.
It is, yeah. I use it as well for images.
Yeah, it's got a lot better. I've not used it for months, and I've been comparing it. I'm doing same prompt into Nano Banana, same prompt into GPT, and I've been getting better results with GPT. So it's not surprising though, because Sora, I did use that a lot before Nano Banana, and that was my favorite model. It just took so long to generate, like if you wanted to generate multiple images. So yeah, when it comes to Claude Code, there's the world is your oyster really, and it's easy to get overwhelmed with seeing what other people are doing and be like, oh my God, I'm so behind, or I need to do this, or like you're bookmarking a million different things and you're like, am I really even going to use this? Does this fit for my business? So what I always do is just take a step back and chunk it down and be like, okay, what am I trying to do here? If I'm trying to set up an SEO system and like a blog publishing system, that's a big task. You're not just going to one-shot that straight out the gate.
Yeah.
So it's like breaking it down into the individual tasks of like, all right, let's just get a blog up and running and working. Okay, we got that. We've got one blog on there. And then, okay, so how do we go about researching? So there's research and there's content creation and there's publishing. And maybe you want a human in the loop for approval. There's image generation. So there's a lot of different moving parts. And it's the same when we talk about OpenClaw. Now I've used it quite a bit. I'm not really advanced as like some people out there. And again, with the stuff you've seen as the use cases, those people will have spent a long time and a lot of tokens to develop something that's like actually working really well for them. And then there's the whole security issue of like, I deploy it on a VPS and I secure that. But if you're deploying it on your laptop and you're not securing your system and you don't have guardrails in place, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just kind of the things that are top of mind. Yeah.
And okay, my next question is, how do you optimize your tokens with OpenClaw? Do you use different language models for different tasks? Because I see a lot of people are getting overwhelmed and burn their money really fast because of, the tokens, because they build an agent. This agent is, burning through a lot of tokens, and at the end of the day, they're spending like $400 per month just for
Yeah.
simple agents and tasks.
It's true. And the question is, do they even need that agent? Like, is that agent going to provide a return on investment for them? But assuming that it is, and that it's going to be useful for them in some way, then how do you optimize the token usage? And well, the model that you don't want to be using all the time is the Opus 4.6, because that's it's the most expensive model you can use. Like if you've not tried Minimax and Kimi K2 or Kimi K2 2.5, those are really good models. And so for the most part, I use OpenClaw using those models. So yeah, there are different ways you can switch between it. between the different models for different tasks. Um, but the easiest way is just to use one of the cheaper models and see how far you can get along with that. And if you want to do some model switching, you can do. You can build skills for that. Like OpenRouter is something that I use. Not just in OpenClaw, but in NA10, and so
Yeah,
you can
I
switch
use it as
between
well. Yeah.
a bunch of different models.
Do you see a lot of different businesses building open clause for them? Is this the future of how business will operate through agents?
Yeah, I couldn't say. I think when OpenClaw dropped, or at least when the hype started, it was you didn't really know what it could do. Like you see a lot of people talking about it and like, all right, this seems pretty cool, and so there's a lot of people using it right now, right? The fastest growing open source project in history. Like
Yeah.
that says something. Now, is it the best iteration of that thing of like an agent, should we say? Of like an assist, it's more of like an assistant that can do stuff, and you can build agents inside of that, right, and deploy them for different use cases. Is it the best iteration of that? I don't know. Probably not. And is there
Probably
is
not.
there
Yeah.
is there going to be something better? Sure. I've been using Hermes agent, and that's also been working really well for me. But as you know, OpenAI, OpenClaw have their own foundation that's kind of, I think, protected and funded by OpenAI now. So they are dropping updates and new releases. So yeah, like I said, I don't use it a ton, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about that. But I have gone through the whole security setup and did a deep dive on that to make sure I set that up correctly. I did a video on it. If you want the link, I think it'd be pretty useful. And I've dived, gone into a bunch of use cases from what I've seen online, and the stuff people are doing is pretty insane. But at the end of the day, like I'm asking myself the question: Do I need a team of 10 agents? And right
Mhm.
now, the way that my business operates, I actually don't. So, you know, different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I saw that also Perplexity. They build a computer, I think it's called,
Yes.
kind of the
Yeah.
same thing as OpenClaw. So I think more and more companies will go this route, with all these agents. I've seen uh, one dude online, he's built a system that looks through old broken WordPress, websites, and it scans them. It builds a newer version for the client, and it sends an SMS to this person. Hey, I built you a new website. Do you want to see it? So this is like a system without, doing much. You create a demo basically, not, a full scale website, but this is how they look for customers.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, you can use it for, very different tasks. And
Yeah, you
yeah,
just got
I
to get
think,
creative.
yeah, yeah, absolutely can get creative with it. And yeah, I'm really happy that this Cloud Code came out. You can build apps so fast right now. Like you can connect the database, you can, email marketing automations. It's good times, to
Hmm.
be a builder. A lot of people that they haven't been able to do all this stuff, now they can build, different tools and automations. It's great
Yeah,
for
of course.
most of the people. A lot of people are losing their jobs as well, because I have a friend who is working in the electric vehicle industry, and they told me that everything inside is cloud code. Like they don't allow, programmers to work on their own right now. Everything needs to get first through cloud code and then, a human touch in the loop.
Right. Yeah, that's the way it's going. It's the way it's going, but I think we're still early, you know. If you speak to, regular business owners, especially in Bulgaria, right? There's a little bit behind the curve
Yeah.
in some industries, right? And the same most places that you go, like small business owners are just kind of coming around. They're probably using ChatGPT, right? I know a lot of people have GPTs, which can be pretty useful still, but yeah, there's still a huge demand for getting into learning these things and getting started. And for a lot of people, the technical, like even just like using Claude Code in the terminal, it's I think quite technical for some people because it's not turnkey. Like Lovable, I would say, is a little bit more turnkey where you can see what you're building and there's databases built in and authentication and you can do one-click deploy and it's a really good platform. I still use it because it's just super easy to get something up quick and dirty and test it, right? If you want to, like, if you've got an idea for an app, okay, yeah, you're going to spend a little bit of money on credits, but you can whip something up super quick and you don't have to try and figure out, not that it's like super difficult, but like setting up your own MCP servers for the, like Vercel and
Yeah.
Superbase and all this stuff.
Superbase, yeah.
But if you've never done that before and you've never opened the terminal before, like, trust me, I've introduced this to my students and they're like, yeah, I never opened the terminal before. And they're kind of just struggling. And if something breaks, you don't really know what you've been building. And because everything happens on your computer and you're giving Claude Code access to all your computer files, like you've probably heard the stories on Reddit of people wiping their entire computer. Like
Yep.
Claude Code just
Yeah.
like for some reason decided, I don't know how you would get to that point, but some people having Claude Code wipe their entire computer, which, I mean, yeah, that would not be fun. So,
Mm. Yeah. So what's next for you? What you're building something interesting? Are you focused on your school, teaching people?
yep, yep. I just dropped a Claude Code 30-day challenge that's starting in April to see, yeah, to get people on board. Because it is, last year I was doing mostly NA10, and this year I've pivoted a little bit more. And instead of giving people just NA10, giving them a toolbox of NA10, Claude Code, Lovable, prompt engineering. We have the AI operator methodology, which is it's a framework of how do you choose the tool, and then how do you scope out and spec a build based on how do you identify a problem, and then how do you get that problem from from the early stages into, okay, this is the trigger, this is the transformation, this is the output, who's involved, is there a human in the loop? So I think the value is going to be in understanding how to get the most out of these tools, but also like one step above of how do you think about building these systems, and how do you break down a problem and diagnose like an automation? Like, how do you walk into a business and be like, have a conversation with a department and decide what needs to be built, and is it possible, and what tools to use, and how, you know what I mean? So being more the architect rather than the driver,
Yep.
is going to be a useful. I think that's the way that the value is going to be exchanged. Is if you're the architect and you can sort of map this out, because everybody can prompt Claude Code, but can you actually build something that's useful and valuable and that doesn't break, right? Like error handling. If you don't know what error handling is, and you just vibe coding away, then like try deploying something into production and have that run for for months at a time without breaking. Like without error handling, you're gonna end up it's gonna end up breaking. You know,
Yeah.
APIs sometimes change. You might get edge cases coming through,
Mm.
all that kind of thing. But yeah, what's to come? No, nobody really knows. I think there is a lot of companies shifting towards this agent-based way of operating. Like, I get a lot of people, a lot of companies reaching out with their products that they're developing, that they want exposure, and there is a lot of people shifting away from this like workflow builder type solution to an agentic, like assistant based solution where you just tell it what you want to do and it will go off and do all of the things instead of like you having to do it piece by piece.
Yep. Funny times we live in. It's
Yeah.
totally, yeah, it's going this direction for sure. More and more companies are adopting all these tools. Some are behind, some are scared of using it, but I think uh, this is where we are going. And who knows, maybe we'll see robots in companies doing all this stuff, communicating.
Oh yeah. Yeah, robots are very much around the corner.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And
I think the big thing to look out for is these cheap Chinese models. You know, Minimax, Kimi, DeepSeek. Because if they get better, if you know, they're pretty good. They're like almost on par with, Opus 4.6 and the frontier models. So yeah, it's still a bit of a question mark right now of like, are we in a bubble? Like, there's so much money getting pumped into OpenAI, and then when you look at these open source models, you're like, if they get better, then why would people still continue paying to use Opus and Codex? I think I think Opus is a fantastic model. I use it like I have a Mac subscription to Claude, and I use it as my daily drive every day in Claude Code, in Claude Desktop. It was Claude Cowork as well, which I've not really done a lot with, but I kind of use Claude Code for my knowledge work. I know Cowork was kind of designed for that, but yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, and I think the biggest skill of all is knowing what to focus on. You know, it takes discipline to not get pulled in a million directions. Like I'll hold my hands up. Like as a
yeah,
content creator, as someone on social media, like it's very hard to stay grounded, and not try and get pulled in a million directions, because
every day
like
there's something new.
there's always something new. Like last week, there was Google dropped this embeddings model where you can now embed in like a RAG system. You can embed audio, video, like full PDFs, all searchable, which is huge because we build RAG systems in my mentorship, and that's like ingesting certain types of documents has been, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. So it was huge for us. So yeah, we'll see where things are at. Like things are moving really quick, and it's easy to think that you might be behind, but if you're already using these tools, like you're not behind. The people who are not using them, they're the ones who, are going to be a bit worried at the end. If at the end of the year they're not using them, they might be at a disadvantage. Yeah, it's either that or you become a plumber or an electrician, and
Mhm.
and your job is going to be safe for probably quite a while until I mean, if robots can do those kinds of jobs, then that would be interesting.
Yeah, it's getting there for sure. And even in the music industry, AI getting so many layoffs from the industry. They can mix, produce, even I watch people from Hollywood, they're getting fired because they don't need a whole team to do a certain production. They can just prompt engineer the whole thing.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's
later, of
really.
course, musicians to play it. I mean, for me, this is kind of crazy because it takes a lot from the creative part of, the human and all the energy that we put in music, you know. I've seen recently, I went to an event we hosted here in Bulgaria. There was a DJ who created all his music by AI, and he was doing nothing. He just went out, play a button, that's it. It's crazy.
It is, yeah. It's funny because I've not really checked in on with like all the developments going on in the music space, and I used to be, I mean, I still do music. I used to produce a lot, and that was like GPT-3 era. So I'm all I know about is like Suno and a few other little tools, but yeah, it's an interesting question of like how's that going to shape how people consume art, like music and physical artwork, and I think people will still prefer a human for that. Like there is just something about that you just can't get across with AI. Just when someone
Yeah,
records something and sings it with emotion, and the same with instruments, it's subtle, right? And a lot of people may not even notice or even care, but a lot of people will. And it's the same with physical art as well. And I used to do a lot of oil paintings, and that's something I'm getting back into. Like so, I think people will still prefer like art on the wall to be even more so to be human.
of course, yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, otherwise it'll be a digital print, which you can, you know, that's always been the dichotomy, right?
Mhm.
Physical art that someone's made or print of someone's work, you know. So yeah, I think they're interesting questions to ponder and try not to worry myself too much about where things are at. You just got to be able to be fluid, and I think building a personal brand as a business owner is a really smart thing to do because it gives you this moat. Like it gives you an audience and it brings, it attracts opportunities to you. So yeah, that's been the biggest thing for me the last, 6-8 months. Like I've turned things around by building an audience and going from almost zero followers on all platforms to, like 60,000 across all the platforms that I'm on.
Yeah, I remember last December you were starting, you were kind of wondering where to go. A year later, you were completely shifted your business.
Yeah, yeah. So things are moving a lot quicker these days. Um, yeah. What
Okay,
about you anyway? What are you working on?
we work on different applications right now. We are getting a contract with our country in Bulgaria to build a
Mm,
system about, you know, complaints. Because when you go and put a complaint in the any, you know, if it's water, you don't have water, you call them and say, hey, I don't have water. Or if you have issues with somebody building noise, no, nobody is giving you attention. And right now there is an agency that they want to build an application so they can handle better all these requests from people. And
mm,
this is one thing that we are building right now. In the past,
nice.
we started, chatbots, voice agents. We kind of went this direction, which is cool. It can help businesses, but I don't think it can provide that much of value, for a business. So right now we are focused on systems that we can replicate and sell to other businesses. I built and still we're finishing a ERP system for the fashion industry, and it can help you from start production planning to distribution through all your
Mm,
stores and marketing, and even we'll be integrating try on with AI, so people can see how they fit the clothes and stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, been building different systems, and we start as well like a little school academy, so I can teach people what I know, what I'm learning, because a lot of my friends, they're asking me about tips. They're really interested, learning Cloud Code, how to
Yeah.
use it. They started, building their own tools. So this inspires me, so I can share what I have learned, and yeah,
Nice.
help people. Just this is why we do this podcast, so we can share more knowledge, ideas to people, and yeah,
Cool. Love
that's
it.
much, yeah. Okay, so tell us where people can find you, where they can find your school.
Yeah. So best places is YouTube. It's Tom. Sorry, it's the Growth Lab with the AI Growth Lab with Tom. If you
We'll put
search
links
that.
below so they can find you.
Yeah. X. I'm on there. Tom Crawshaw 01. And yeah, my I'll give you my link to my mentorship if you want to include that there. It's application only, and I don't really accept a ton of people on that. Um, but yeah, it's an option if people want to go deep.
Okay, tell me one last tip for our audience, for people who are just starting. What would suggest to them?
I would suggest one problem, one tool, one workflow.
Don't get
The
overwhelmed.
Yeah, and just to explain, like it, it's basically what I was saying earlier. When you start, it's easy to get overwhelmed, and the way to make progress is to gain momentum, and the way that you do that is by keeping it super simple. So, one problem, one tool, one workflow. That's where I would start.
Yeah, it's a good point. Thank you, brother. Thank you for your
Hey,
time, for your tips, for your knowledge.
no worries. Thanks for having me.